Discipline. It doesn't make noise. It doesn't ask for attention. It doesn't care who's watching. Talent does. Talent wants to be seen. It feeds on recognition. It expects the world to notice. And for a while it works. People admire it. They talk about it. They expect it to win. But talent has a weakness. It depends on how you feel. Gotham taught me that. This city is full of talent, sharp minds, fast hands, natural fighters, men who could have been great. Most of them aren't. Not because they lacked ability, but because they lack discipline. Talent is a gift. Discipline is a choice. And that choice, it doesn't happen once. It happens every day. Every morning you don't feel like getting up. Every night your body tells you to stop. Every moment you could take the easy way, but don't. That's where discipline is built. When I started, I wasn't special. I wasn't the strongest. I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't the smartest man in every room. But I was consistent, and consistency is what breaks everything else. People think strength comes from power, from genetics, from talent, from luck. They're wrong. Strength comes from repetition, doing the same thing, again and again, long after it stops being exciting, long after it becomes exhausting, long after no one is watching. Talent fades when things get hard. Discipline begins there. There are nights in Gotham when the rain doesn't stop, when the cold cuts through armor, when the city feels heavier than usual. Those nights matter, because no one is watching. No praise, no recognition, no reward. Just a choice. Keep going. Or stop. Anyone can perform when it's easy, when the lights are on, when people are cheering, when everything goes according to plan. That's talent. But when it's silent, when it hurts, when every part of you is telling you to quit, that's discipline. I've trained in darkness, not because I had to, but because I chose to. Every bruise, every failure, every setback, it wasn't wasted. It was repetition. And repetition builds certainty. Certainty that when the moment comes, you don't hesitate, you act. Talent hesitates. It questions itself. It waits for the right conditions. It needs everything to feel perfect. Discipline doesn't wait. It doesn't care about comfort. It doesn't negotiate. It executes. You want to know the difference? Talent needs motivation. Discipline doesn't. Motivation is temporary. It comes and goes like the weather. One day you feel unstoppable. The next you don't. If you rely on motivation, you will fail eventually. Discipline doesn't care how you feel. Tired, unfocused, unmotivated. It doesn't matter. The work still gets done. That's the part people don't understand. Discipline isn't intensity. It's consistency. It's showing up, even when you don't want to, especially when you don't want to, because that's when it counts the most. Anyone can show up on a good day, but the bad days, the exhausting days, the frustrating days, the days where everything feels heavy, those are the days that define you. In Gotham, hesitation costs lives. There's no time to wonder if I feel ready. No time to wait for motivation. The moment comes, and you either act or you don't. Discipline removes that question. It replaces doubt with action. It replaces hesitation with instinct. You don't rise to the level of your talent. You fall to the level of your training. That's the truth. The cold, unfiltered truth. Talent might get you ahead at the start, but discipline is what keeps you there. I've faced men stronger than me, faster than me, more gifted than me, and they still lost. Not because they weren't capable, but because they weren't prepared. Preparation isn't talent. It's discipline. Day after day, night after night, choice after choice, until it becomes who you are. At some point, it stops being a decision and starts being your identity. You don't think about it anymore. You don't argue with yourself. You don't wait. You move. That's when discipline becomes power. So if you're waiting to feel ready, don't. You won't. If you're waiting for motivation, stop. It won't last. If you're relying on talent alone, understand this. It will fail you when you need it most. Build discipline. Slowly, relentlessly, without excuses. Because in the end, discipline beats talent. Every time. You think discipline is about strength. It's not. It's about control. Control over your mind. Control over your habits. Control over the voice that tells you to stop. Everyone has that voice. The one that whispers, "Not today. You've done enough. You can rest." It sounds reasonable. That's what makes it dangerous. Because discipline isn't loud. It doesn't argue. It doesn't shout over the noise. It waits. And then it asks one question. Are you done, or are you finished? There's a difference. Being done means you're tired. Being finished means the work is complete. Most people stop when they're done. Disciplined people stop when they're finished. That's why they win. Not faster, not easier, but consistently. Gotham runs on patterns. Criminals repeat mistakes. They follow habits. They rely on what's worked before. That's how I catch them. Not by being more talented, but by being more disciplined. I study longer. I train harder. I prepare further than they expect. Because when the moment comes, there's no guessing, no hesitation, no wasted movement. Just action. Clean, precise, final. People think discipline is restrictive, like it traps you, limits you. They're wrong. Discipline is freedom. Freedom from doubt. Freedom from hesitation. Freedom from inconsistency. When you're disciplined, you don't wonder what to do. You already know. The decision was made long ago. Through repetition. Through failure. Through persistence. That's what builds confidence. Not talent. Not luck. Not potential. Execution. Over and over and over. Confidence isn't something you feel. It's something you earn. Every time you do the work when you don't want to. Every time you push when it would be easier to quit. Every time you choose discipline over comfort. You prove something to yourself. And that proof, it stacks, day after day. Until doubt has nowhere left to stand. That's when fear changes. It doesn't disappear. It never does. But it loses control. Because discipline steps in and takes its place. Fear says you can't. Discipline says do it anyway. Fear says wait. Discipline says move. Fear says, what if you fail? Discipline says you will and you'll continue. That's the difference. Talent avoids failure. Discipline expects it, because failure isn't the end. It's feedback. Every mistake is a lesson. Every loss is information. Every setback is a chance to adjust. But only if you keep going. And that's where most people break. Not at the beginning. Not when things are easy, but in the middle, when progress slows, when results don't show, when effort feels wasted. That's the moment discipline is tested. Because nothing feels rewarding, nothing feels exciting, nothing feels worth it. And still, you continue. That's discipline. It's not glamorous. It's not exciting. It's not something people celebrate. It's quiet, repetitive, unseen, but it builds something permanent. Talent can disappear. Discipline stays, even when you're tired, even when you're distracted, even when everything around you falls apart. Discipline remains. That's why it wins. Not once, not sometimes, every time. You want to become stronger, more focused, more capable. Then stop chasing motivation. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop relying on how you feel. Start building discipline, small actions. Repeat it daily. Not impressive, not dramatic, but consistent. Wake up when you said you would. Do the work, even when it's uncomfortable. Finish what you started. No shortcuts, no excuses. Just discipline. Because one day, when it matters most, when the pressure is real, when the stakes are high, you won't rise. To the level of your talent, you'll fall. To the level of your discipline, and if you've built it right, if you've earned it, if you've lived it, you won't break. You'll be ready.